Namaste. A very warm welcome to the DOT TSDSI webinar series on IoT M2M applications for verticals webinar on utilities. I, Shifali Sinha, along with my colleagues from TSDSI, Ms. Bindu Srivastava, Ms. Sonia Sachdeva Sharma, Mr. Asif Iqbal, and from DOT, Mr. Ajay Nain, are your hosts for this webinar. Before we begin, here are a few hygiene announcements. All attendees will be muted throughout the workshop. If you have any questions for the speakers, please type them in the questions tab. This webinar is being recorded and will be posted to the TSDSI website within the next few days. Speakers are requested to kindly deliver your presentations within the allotted time durations. This is the second webinar in the series, and it will focus on the utilities vertical. A few material on TSDSI work is available in the handouts tab at the dashboard of the tool. Participants may like to download these for their reference. We have the distinguished honor to have the following speakers with us today. Shri A.K. Tiwari, Member T DOT, Shri Deendayal Toshniwal, DDG NT DOT, Ms. Reena Malhotra, Director NT DOT, Ms. Anuradha Vatem, Lead Architect, IIIT Hyderabad, Mr. Devendra Patel, Head Energy Analytics, L&T Smart World and Communication, Mr. Dharmendra Tomar, DGM New Ventures IoT Business Tata Communications Limited, Mr. Kaushik Patil, Lead Technical Architect, Secure Meters Limited, Ms. Kumud Wadhwa, Senior General Manager, National Smart Grid Mission, Mr. Manendra Mahor, Rural Infrastructure Consultant, NPMU, National Jal Jeevan Mission, Mr. Phil Beecher, President and CEO, Wyson Alliance, Mr. Rajesh Kapoor, Technical Consultant, SGSS TSDSI. Thank you everyone for joining the second session of the webinar series. I now invite Shri Deendayal Toshniwal, DDG Networks and Technologies, DOT, Government of India, to give the opening remarks for the webinar. Shri Deendayal Toshniwal is an Indian Telecom Service Officer of 1990 batch. He has done BE in Electronics and Telecommunications Engineering from Assam Engineering College, Guwahati, MBA Marketing from BK School of Management, Ahmedabad, and PGD in Public Policy and Management from MDI, Gurgaon. He has extensive experience in various telecom domains, including wireline and wireless networks. Currently, he is posted at DOT headquarters since October 21 as DDG Networks and Technologies. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Shefali ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, you're audible.
Thank you. Dear participants and speakers, I welcome you all to this second webinar in the webinar series on IoT M2M applications in key application verticals, which is being jointly organized by DOT and TSDSI. As most of you are aware, the first webinar in this series, which focused on transportation vertical, was organized on 5th of April 22, which was attended by more than 170 participants from across the country, including members from MORTH, state transport departments, and other central ministries. The purpose of these webinars is to disseminate awareness among key line ministries on how IoT M2M based technology applications can help in achieving efficiencies in delivery of services to end users in a cost-effective manner and motivate the ministries involved to adopt such technologies in their sectors. Each webinar in this series will showcase global and domestic applications, including pilots, field trials, deployments in a particular vertical like transportation, utilities, agriculture, health, industry 4.0, and smart cities. Theme of today's webinar, as Shefali just now told, is utilities such as power, gas, and water sector. First of all, I would like to profusely thank Ms. Shri A.K. Tiwari, Member Technology, DCC, for agreeing to deliver the inaugural address for the webinar. We also thank Member T sir for his regular guidance and support towards proliferation of M2M IoT services and his key interest in this field. I would like to thank speakers from National Smart Grid Mission and Jal Jeevan Mission who have readily agreed to address the webinar and enlighten the participants on the key opportunities for M2M IoT in their respective sectors. Ms. Kumut Wadhwa, Senior GM, NSGM, National Smart Grid Mission, and Mr. Pradeep Singh, Director, Jal Jeevan Mission. Welcome you all. Further, I would also like to thank Mr. Phil Beecher, President and CEO, Vysan Alliance, Mr. Kaustubh Patil, Lead Technical Architect, Secure Matters Limited, Mr. Deven Patel, Head Energy Analytics, L&T Smart World and Communications, Mr. Dharmendra Tomar from Tata Communications, and Ms. Anuradha from IIIT Hyderabad. They have agreed to showcase the deployment use cases of M2M IoT technology in electricity, gas, and water sectors. Thank you, speakers, for agreeing to share your thoughts and experiences with us today. I hereby also welcome all the participants to the webinar. We hope that this webinar will prove useful to you and it will help you all to take full benefits arising out of immense opportunities that exist in the IoT M2M domain. Utility providers like water, electricity, and gas agencies need to renew their offerings in order to cut operating costs, reduce leakages or fraud, increase safety, and stay compliant with regulations. To achieve these objectives, M2M and IoT bring solutions with smart metering, sub-metering, and beyond smart grids for neighborhood or citywide integrated energy management. Some of these solutions will be showcased in today's webinar. I sincerely hope that this webinar will be able to achieve its objective, that is to disseminate awareness among the participants and industry members about the opportunities arising in M2M IoT sectors, especially the utility sectors where we are seeing large-scale deployments, and these deployments are increasing at a very rapid pace. Thank you once again. Back to Sefali. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your remarks. I would now like to request Mr. Rajesh Kapoor, Technical Consultant, Study Group Services and Solutions, TSDSI, to set the context for the webinar today. Mr. Rajesh Kapoor is associated with TSDSI as Technical Consultant with SGSS. He was Director Technical at GCIL from 2012 to 2018. He was also holding the chairmanship of TSDSI Study Group on Machine-to-Machine Communication and Languages. He joined TCIL in 1983, where he headed various projects and was also a part of a number of ICT and telecom projects. Kapoor, sir, the floor is yours. Asif, can you give the share rights to sir, please?
Enable the right to sir.
Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir. Can you go on full screen mode? Yes. Now it's fine, sir. Thank you.
Shri A.K. Tiwari, Member Technology DOT, Deen Dayal Toshniwalji DDG NT DOT, Madam Reena Malhotra, Director NT DOT, eminent speakers from government, industry, academia, and webinar participants. Good afternoon to all of you. We welcome you to the DOT TSDSI webinar on IoT M2M application with the theme today, utilities vertical. So utilities vertical, as you know, is very critical to economic development, and DOT TSDSI web series on IoT M2M applications is an important platform for exchange of information amongst the players in different sectors engaged in digital transformation. Digital transformation, digital information infrastructures and knowledge networks are key components of digital economy and Vision Digital India. Efficiency of delivery of services and resiliency in operations of infrastructure are prime objectives of digital infrastructure. IoT M2M as a technology and new emerging infrastructures are seen to have applications in almost all the verticals of the economy. Issues and challenges always are tagged with implementation of new digital infrastructures. So in the environment of evolving technologies, technology deployment organizations, telecom technology developers, solution providers, service providers, they come together to discuss issues, challenges, and solutions to enable industry mature the technology. Standards is also an important for such a dialogue. Now, if you see the need and role of utilities, as you see in the slide, that all the sectors of the economy, they utilize the power, water, and gas resources, and they contribute to the development of the economy in total. So every sector of the industry economy needs power, gas, water for their economic growth. Digitalization, IoT M2M applications bring efficiency, resiliency in operations and management, enhance the development. Implementation of smart utilities does bring out stakeholders dialogue to evolve standards and standard practices. If you see the smart utilities initiatives, all the operational requirements of these utilities, be it related with the infrastructure or it is related with the customer services. So all these applications, they have got to be resilient, and they are required to be always available so that the economy can develop on a faster scale. In case all these utilities, they do not have the resiliency, and we see that they are not always available, it is going to create a lot of disturbance in the economic development. Therefore, IoT and M2M and digital infrastructures, they are seen to have a great role in the development of resilient infrastructures in the utilities domain. If we see that once these utilities infrastructures, they have to use IoT and M2M digitalization, there is going to be a lot of interaction amongst all the stakeholders of the infrastructure development as a digital infrastructure. Therefore, here standardization also plays a very important role, because all the challenges and issues what we feel that are going to be faced by the society have to be deliberated amongst all the stakeholders, and each one of them have got a role to play in providing the necessary solutions to the challenges and issues. Now, looking at it from the TSDSI point of view, that standardization in all these digital infrastructures of telecom and ICT is important. And TSDSI is already working on the utilities domain in its work group WG3 under the SGSS. These standardization activities, what we are visualizing as on now, it is already been deliberated at the international level also in ITU, 3GPP, and other local SDOs all over the world. So we here also need to harmonize the entire framework of policy makers and the industries of all domains of technology development as well as technology implementation to come forward and participate, so that we are able to create good reports and specifications which are able to meet the Indian requirements, and we are able to take these Indian requirements in the international domain as well, and are able to create a wealth digital wealth for our country. Now, if we see that what kind of works which has already been in place in the international as well as local domain towards the standardization, ITU has already published a report on ICT on as an enabler for water management and termed it as a policy issue for 21st century. 3GPP release 18 has is also been done on the study of 5G smart energy infrastructures, which talk about enabling smart microgrids, distributed generation, distributed power supplies, meter automations, power load measurements and controls. TEC in this regard has also had come out with a report in 2015 on M2M enablement in the power sector, which was submitted to ITU study group 20 as well. And it was also talking about all the requirements which were identified regarding smart metering, SCADA, wide area monitoring systems, electrical vehicles, distributed generations, and energy storage microgrids as well. TSDSI has also released reports in this regard on the energy metering as a report on NB-IoT capabilities for energy metering and a report on context-specific data pruning in smart IoT applications in March 2011. TSDSI is at present also is engaged in the study on communication requirements and recommendations for the energy sector with participation of its members. So TSDSI encourages all the associations, academia, industry, government bodies to come forward and participate in TSDSI, because this is the body from where we can create some standards on the telecom infrastructures which are required for the utility sector, and their participation in this particular domain will also help in taking our contributions in the international domain as well and create a national wealth. So with this, I close my remarks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I'm afraid Shri A.K. Tiwari, Member Technology, is unable to join us at this moment. I would now request Ms. Reena Malhotra, Director, NT-DOT, to give the vote of thanks. Ms. Reena Malhotra, Director, NT, is an Indian Telecommunications Services Officer of the 1990 batch and is presently working as Director, Networks and Technologies in the Ministry of Communications, Government of India. She is currently working on formation of M2M IoT policy and regulation on behalf of Department of Telecommunications, Government of India. She has delivered a number of talks and papers at various forums on related important topics of M2M and IPv6. Over to you, ma'am.
Good afternoon. Am I audible?
You're audible.
I thank everyone to attend this webinar. See, when we talk about standard-based deployments for utility, ideal situation will be when to a customer, ideal situation will be when a customer is having multiple connections, like he is having a water meter, he is having a gas meter, he has an electricity meter. In Delhi NCR region where power backup is there, he has a power backup meter. He has a video surveillance and cameras. So if all these kind of services can be extended through a common network, and he is able to utilize all the utility services on a common network through a common service provider, that will be the ideal use case which we look forward. And I give this challenge to all the utility service providers, if they can bring that kind of setup and do some POCs and some deployment so that it can be replicated initially maybe at smart city level and then to all the cities. that with that vision, which we may achieve in next 4-5 years, I open this webinar and I request all of you to work into that direction. And with these notes, first of all, I would like to thank Secretary Telecom to give us direction to have this webinar series. I will also thank Member Technology who has given us guidance, and unfortunately he was not able to address today, but his wishes are here and he wants the utility network smart utilities to flourish. And I would also like to thank TSDSI to co-host this webinar and be a part of government vision to have a standard-based utility deployments. I would like to thank all the speakers who have extended their thoughts and vision to this webinar and agreed to be part of this webinar and then making it a good direction to how the things should go forward. And I would like to thank all the participants without whose presence this webinar will not be a success. And I will also like to thank each and everyone who has worked in foreground and background to make this webinar a success. Thanks all of you. Over to you, Shefali.
Thank you, Reena ma'am. Moving on to our next session, we now invite